Breaking news, suspicious packages sent to several Democratic politicians across the U.S., including here in Florida, some calling it an act of terror. Plus, a St. Augustine family left devastated.
Just watch your kids and make sure your house is safe, because you never know when the next time you're going to see them,
An 11-year-old boy killed while trying to save a dog from a burning house. Plus,
imagine ordering Jag swag only to receive cheap knockoffs. I'm on your side tonight with what you need to know to avoid getting ripped off.
And a First Coast News exclusive. She raised them as her own, but the judge says they're not hers. Tonight, why she's fighting for her rights as a grandmother.
Always on your side. This is First Coast News at 6.
And first tonight, we continue to cover that breaking news involving suspicious packages sent to prominent Democratic political figures. Packages containing explosives targeted Hillary Clinton, former President Obama, CNN's newsroom in New York, and Florida Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
President Trump says he is angry by the attempted violence. And you can see the packages targeted several big names in New York and the nation's capital, as we're saying, and reaching all the way down to Sunrise, Florida. First Coast News anchor Heather Crawford with this developing story tonight.
News since 5:30, Jeannie and Anthony. The FBI says right now 5 packages containing explosives are being analyzed at a lab in Virginia. Now, the agency says all of them had printed address labels and 6 stamps. So our verified team is breaking down the facts in this developing case. And here's what we know at this hour, what our team has verified. Packages sent to liberal billionaire George Soros, the Obamas, the Clintons, CNN, Representatives Wasserman Schultz and Maxine Waters, and former Attorney General Eric Holder. Now, several include pipe bombs, and at least 2 of these packages had a white powder. Still unknown at this hour is the suspect, a motive, and whether there could be more packages out there. And here's what we have proven false. Recent reports that a suspicious package was sent to the White House and to New York Governor Cuomo, that is not true. Now, no one has been hurt by any of these packages, and all of them were intercepted before they reached their intended target. We're going to stay on top of this story. We'll keep you updated both on air and online. Jeannie?
Heather, thank you. Now tonight, Democratic candidate Andrew Gillum and also Republican Ron DeSantis will square off in their final debate. It will take place less than 10 miles from where a suspicious package was sent to the office of Florida Democrat Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz. The debate will be at Broward College, and officials there at the college tell us they are aware of the packages being sent to politicians, and they have heavy security for tonight's debate. Now, that debate starts at 7 p.m. and the only place you can watch it is ABC 25 tonight. Also developing at this hour, JSO has released a new picture saying it is looking for a second car in reference to Sunday's East Side mass shooting in Jacksonville. You can see it here on the right of your screen. Police say 6 people were shot outside a laundromat on A. Philip Randolph, a half-mile away from TIAA Bank Field. 3 people were taken to the hospital. If you know anything about either car, please call Crime Stoppers. That number is 866-845-TIPS.
A devastated family in St. Augustine is coping with the loss of their 11-year-old boy. Family members tell us his name is David Eugene Taylor, and he was killed while trying to save a dog from a burning house. Now, this all happened on Lee Street, and that's where On Your Side's Jessica Clark joins us live tonight. And Jessica, this is yet another tragedy for a family who already lost another child.
Yes, indeed, and that was several years ago. So let me explain to you where Lee Street is. It's right off of 4 Mile Road, very close to State Road 16. The house behind me is the one that burned. The caution tape is still up, but I want to walk over here and show you this. It's a simple basketball hoop. But this is important because the little boy who died last night used to love to play basketball. Neighbors all over the street told me about that. And tonight, this hoop is quiet. Parts of the house just melted. Soot covers the front wall. This home on Lee Street in St. Augustine was the scene of fear and sorrow Tuesday night when it caught fire. 3 people were inside the house. 34-year-old Michelle Taylor, her teenage daughter, and her son, 11-year-old David Taylor, according to family members. The mother's uncle says the smoke alarm went off and the family tried to get out.
And so they got out of bed and they went into the living room. Somehow it was just pitch black because I guess they had no lights or nothing on it. Smoke, and she couldn't get out the front door, so they went to the side window of the bedroom and she knocked the window out. And when she went to go out, I guess, David wasn't there, so he went back in to get the dog.
He says David, the son, went to get the dog, but did not make it out. The dog did somehow. Neighbors say David loved basketball and was a good student. David went to Murray Middle School. The fire marshal is investigating. According to the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, the autopsy report says there was nothing suspicious with this death. Many of the neighbors are just in shock. Somebody said it's just kind of surreal for this to happen. You know, this is sad because just 5 years ago, this family lost another child. And so the folks here in this neighborhood just feeling very bad for what this family is going through, trying to come up with ways to help. We're live in St. Augustine. Jessica Clark, First Coast News, on your side.
Jess, thank you. We're working on 3 On Your Side investigations tonight. First, when Jag swag goes bad. A local woman posted this on Facebook after she ordered a Jaguars jersey from what she thought was going to be a Jaguars shop, an official one. But when it came, it was clear she'd been scammed. Juliet Dreyer's on your side tonight with what you need to know so you don't get ripped off too, Juliet.
Well, there are certain ways to tell in person whether a jersey is authentic, but with so many people turning to online shopping, how can you be sure if you're ordering the real deal?
Ready to roar, but left whimpering. A local woman is warning others after she bought a Jaguars jersey online, only to have it arrive with poor stitching and off coloring. The website in question boasts the word official several times, but a Jaguars representative tells First Coast News, quote, "The site this fan visited is not affiliated with the Jaguars, and our legal department is already working with the NFL to investigate it for potential fraudulent activity." The real official merchandise site is shop.jaguars.com, which connects you to Jacksonville-based fanatics.
I have heard horror stories of that.
Christopher Benfield is the manager of Sports Mania in Jacksonville Beach.
All the jerseys should have this patch down here.
He says authentic jerseys can run into the triple digits and warns if the price seems too good to be true, it probably is.
If it feels cheaply made, or if the stitching seems to be loose, or even if it's not congruent, if the stitching isn't the same on every single part of the shirt, that's something you need to look out for. So you're gonna wanna look for this NFL patch as always. If the NFL isn't on there and it's loose maybe, or it's faded, or it's crooked, that's something you wanna pay attention to.
Well, there's still plenty of time left in the season, so if you want to purchase some Jags gear but you don't want to risk being scammed, we have all of this information posted on our website, firstcoastnews.com. Reporting live in Jacksonville Beach, Juliet Dreyer, First Coast News, on your side.
Juliet, thank you. Now to our second On Your Side investigation. A local veteran is in need of a wheelchair ramp, and he claims the VA had promised to have one built in September, and tonight he's still waiting. So why is he still waiting? Was he really promised a wheelchair ramp? Questions we asked the VA. On Your Side's Ken Amaro is looking into the issue.
Since August, James Jackson has been trying to get the VA to do what he says the VA had promised to do, and that is build a wheelchair ramp. Now, when you think of a wheelchair ramp, you're probably thinking of a very elevated structure. But this is what he's talking about, something that would just cover this threshold. Not only here, but on the inside. James Jackson is among an aging veteran population, the baby boomers who serve in Vietnam. He did 2 tours. He says he injured his back jumping out of an airplane that was on fire.
I landed 25 feet up in a tree. I had to cut my straps.
Jackson says his injury was rated service-connected. Decades later, it has placed him in a wheelchair.
For the rest of my life.
The VA is aware of this.
Oh yeah.
In fact, they're prepared to issue you a wheelchair.
On the 29th.
The Veterans Administration provides his health care, and he says in September the VA promised to build a wheelchair ramp at his home.
The request never went through.
He says on October 16th he was told it was never submitted. Why?
I was pretty despondent.
Jackson says his son has renovated the inside of his home to accommodate his wheelchair. He's now in a rehabilitation center waiting on the VA to work on the outside.
Just do what I was promised was going to happen.
A spokesperson for the VA told us due to Privacy Act restrictions, in order to comment on VA's specific interactions with a veteran, we would need their written consent. I've provided that consent, and I'm now waiting on a response. Ken Amaro, First Coast News, on your side.
Thanks, Ken. Well, maybe a builder will step forward and solve that for him. Thanks, Ken. On Your Side's investigation, our third one continues tonight. Neighbors called an eyesore. Bicycles, appliances stacked 5 feet high in somebody's backyard. So how do you report something if you have an issue that code enforcement needs to look into? On Your Side's Nick Pro joins us live with the answer to that. Nick?
Jeannie, yes, good evening. We're in this neighborhood because of social posts out there saying code compliance need to be called because there were items stacking up, bicycles, appliances in a backyard here. Code compliance came out. We talked to them. They've issued a citation. So how do you do it? Well, there's 2 ways mainly. The first you probably already know, it's using your cell phone. Just like you would report a delay in your trash pickup or a power outage. If either you have a question to code compliance or would like them to look into an issue, you can call 630-CITY and follow the prompt to report an issue. Otherwise, head online. You simply type in 630city.coj.net. It will take you to this page. Here you can create an issue, fill out that form, and the City of Jacksonville will then email you with an ID number. Keep that. Here is where you'll enter that ID number to check the status of an issue. And if you click on this folder here, you can also search public records. And back out here live again, that number 630-CITY. Getting answers for you tonight. Nick Perot on Jacksonville's East Side. First Coast News on your side.
Thank you so much, Nick. Now, if you have a story that you'd like our On Your Side team to investigate, send an email to onyourside@firstcoastnews.com.
She raised them as her own, but the judge says they're not hers.
I'm worried that any minute they're going to come take the kids.
She's fighting for her rights as a grandmother. A 3-part series only on First Coast News. On Your Side.